Full group travels down to Wolverhampton on Saturday, and looking forward to the game on Sunday.
And presumably that means Lys Mosset's 100% as well.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's recovered. So thankfully, I think we all feared the worst when Lys pulled up. He's been outstanding for us the last couple of games. Thought Ollie, when he came on, was great, and scored a fabulous goal for us. Impact of the substitutes, Callum and Billy and Ollie, all combined to get a deserved, in my view, equaliser. But Lys has been outstanding for us in his performances. So yeah, we were when he went down, we're thinking, dear me, because we were just about to make that substitution as well. He just ran out of gas. The amount of effort he put into that game was phenomenal. So delighted that he'll be involved on Sunday.
I mean, obviously, he scored a great second goal for you last week. Are we seeing Lys Mosset now grow as a Premier League player?
Yeah, he has to. There's fierce competition behind him. I've said all along. There's fierce competition behind all the players, really, that's keeping everybody on the toes and making them produce really good performances and positive performances in the way we play. I know there was quite a lot of talk at the start of the season about how we played. Maybe we've, in a way, put that to bed. The coverage, obviously, of the Premier League is huge and global, but we're playing well. We're playing well as a team. We're playing the way I wanted them to play, and Lys is a big part of that.
When we saw you down in the tunnel after the game, I thought at least you looked visibly disappointed to have only got a point. Is that A sign of the expectations and standards you have here, and B, in reflection when you've had time to look at it, do you think perhaps you've been a little bit harsh on yourselves?
I think when you're 2-0 up with 20 minutes to go and in control, you're obviously disappointed. I think there'd be people who have thought that I might have lost it a little bit with the players, but I think you got to sometimes take a step back and look at the overall team performance, and credit to Ollie and the opposition. It was a goal out the blue. It was a fantastic finish, and then they get the tails up and they say yes. And from their point of view, the second and third goals are fantastic balling from Marcus Rashford, and as all goal scorers do, they get in between the goals, and it was a great finish. You can't really do anything about it. You can be really picky that we possibly didn't get close enough to the forward ball, and then you look at the third goal, and if we'd have scored the third goal, I'd have been clapping. I'd have said that's a fantastic goal. What pleased me was obviously the reaction of the players, because it was disappointing. Put themselves in a winning position. But that's the Premier League. That's why we've got to accept that. That's the Premier League. That's top end Premier League footballers: Martial, Rashford, Dan James, and Jesse Lingard, who played in a World Cup semi-final for England. And they're the players that you're up against. We could look at ourselves and go, were we pushed back or did we drop off? Did we give the ball away cheaply, or did Man United raise their game? That's always going to be debated. And then we did to Man United what they did to us for 10 minutes. We pushed them back, and I did believe and I felt that there was an equaliser coming, and delighted to get it. And 2-0 down, 3-3. Great advert, great, as we talked about, uneducated punditry. I think we can call it at the start of the season, but I'm not here to rub their heads as well. We play in the manner that that suits us. We played it for 2 seasons. We played it in the Championship. I think if you speak to Keith Andrews and Scott Minto and all the boys that covered the Championship, that that were a positive side. We talked about being positive in this division, and we've carried on, and we have to accept that that we're up against some special players at times, and they're going to do that to better teams than us.
Let's look at Wolves then, and if you can, talk to us a little bit about what you see in them, because they're confounding the critics at the moment that say if you play in the Europa League, it takes a toll on your Premier League form. Yet here they are, sat one spot above you in 5th.
Yeah, Nuno's done a fantastic job at Wolves. I think it is a sort of a different club to the promoted clubs. I think that they were set for Premier League when they were in the Championship, and I do believe they were set for top 10 when they went in the Premier League because of the players that they've got in there. But still, to win the Championship is a great achievement, and to finish in the top 10 is a great achievement. So as much as the investment and the way they play and the players that they've got outstanding players and kept hold of, you still got to win games of football, and I think that just goes down to the manager, what he installs in the players, the way they play. I'm a great admirer of him. We had two tight games. We beat him at our place. They had Cody sent off, Connor Cody sent off early on, and we managed to win on that day. And then they destroyed us at their place. Nevers has scored after 5 minutes. And one of the big things I always remember is their second goal. I think me and Nilly were clapping. Nilly was definitely clapping because it was such a brilliant goal. I said, Nilly, that's gone against us, by the way. We haven't scored that. But, appreciate good football, and their journey is a fantastic one. And yeah, I think that you look at all those teams that do play Europa League football, and it does take its toll in terms of when you start the season, your preparation's a little bit up in the air, you're straight into games. But they seem to come through it with flying colours and obviously put themselves in a position which they deserve to be.
With that in mind then, obviously any game to game you look for little advantages. Has the schedule or the fixture list given you a potential advantage, drawing you on a weekend after they've played on a Thursday night?
We'll only know on Sunday afternoon, I should imagine, from Nuno's point of view, and their staff and their sports science guys and the conditioners. Yeah, they'd have liked a free week and be prepared to go into this game, but you have to deal with the fixture list, and their success in terms of getting into the Europa League means that they had a game in Portugal. Can we take advantage of that? We're going to have to play well yet again, but we are in good nick. We've got a couple of players that are obviously back with us in terms of Dean and John Egan, and we want more. I want more out of the players. I'm getting everything out of the players at the moment, and that has to continue if we're gonna be successful. There's no time for a backward step. I think we talked about it. We were sat in the changing room at Tottenham before the game, and we were on 17 points, and we were in this £1 billion stadium against these world-class players that got through to the Champions League, and we talked about, what, boys, we could have a day off here, and nobody will really bat an eyelid. People will expect us to get beat, or we can try and get to 20 points, and we did our utmost to do that on the day. And I think that shows you what the players are like, and how we're driving them, and Sunday will be no different. We want to add. We're on a good run, unbeaten runs in the Premier League are priceless. I think Dean Smith's talked about it. There's not a big gap between ourselves and 7-8 clubs, so we have to keep going and keep driving it forward. But we're confident we can do that. Boys are in good nick, and yet again we're looking forward to another fabulous weekend in the Premier League.
Brilliant.
Cheers.
What do you learn from those experiences, like at Spurs, where the Blades played really well, and against Man United in closing those games out then, in trying to combat those, even a mad 8-minute spell, I suppose?
That's really harsh, to close games out against those teams. To put yourself in winning positions is hard enough. To close games out, you will look at your individual performances, where we can get better, and always. But I do believe this part of the game where you stick your hand up and go, for that 7 or 8 minutes, and then you flip it round and say, well, would you have rather had 75 minutes of the game than 10 minutes? And it's different ways of looking at it from your own club's perspective. I know Ollie will look at it and go, it's a great fight back, and it was, and there's some great goals scored in that. and I'll look at it and go, for 70 minutes, and then for the last 5 minutes, we've dominated Manchester United. So we'll take the belief out of that. A little bit more clinical, we talked about, and sometimes, you know, great third goal, fantastic ball in for the second goal. Can we get a little bit closer on the second goal? They're taking chances to try and get back in the game as well, just as much as we took chances late on to try and get something out of the game. But every game's analysed, and every game's a learning experience.
I know you mentioned about ill-informed punditry at the start of proceedings, but you've now got Graham Souness on the box talking about buying season tickets, watching Sheffield United. Does that filter back to you?
I don't think he'll be able to get one at the moment, because I think we've all sold out. So I'll be able to get him a couple of comps if you want to pass it on to him. No, this is part of the Premier League, isn't it? The exposure that you get individually, players and everybody, and as a team. And if you want to keep that going, you got to play well and win games of football, and that's got to be the aim for us as a group. I'd rather be talked about in positive terms than be a team that's struggling. But we know there's still an awful long way to go. There's an awful lot of football to be played, and obviously, you know my approach to the players. There's no backward steps, and it's on to the next challenge. And as difficult as it comes in terms of who we're playing on Sunday. Big
moment for McBurney and the team last weekend, and we were talking after the match, weren't we, about his struggles and getting up to speed in a more in-depth way. Where would you say he's at then in trying to get up to where you want him to be?
Well, he's knocking on the door, and they all are, and it's difficult because you're not privy to what happens here. It's not a fly-on-the-wall documentary, but them boys are really pushing, and I think, you know, the performances of Jag shows you what the other boys have to do to keep their standards high. The performances during the week of Callum and Ollie are keeping Lees and David McGoldrick honest, and Billy as well. So they're knocking on the door. They're pushing, which you have to have. There's no shoo-ins into that team. You've got to play well to get into the team, and you've got to play well to stay in the team. And the reason we haven't changed it is because the boys are playing well. There's nobody out of form, and they know that they've just got to keep going, and I've got to keep the hammer down on them to make sure those performances are consistent, and we feel we're doing that. But as I said, you know, the signings that we made in the summer, if you analyse all the signings, McBurney, Callum Robinson, Luke Freeman, Ben Osborne, the boys out of the Championship. It's their first taste of Premier League football. So, you know, they just as much as the likes of the boys that are playing at the moment. So I'm not scrutinising their performances and putting too much pressure on them boys. They will grow, they will adapt to life as a Premier League footballer, and push and take opportunities, and you know, the goal, you know, involved everybody. The main part of it was Callum, what he did to Ollie, and we're delighted. And they're pushing really hard to get into the team.
When you look at Wolves, and you were talking about how they were Premier League ready to begin with, how much were they an indication? Because they've essentially set their stall out and done their own thing. They've not changed what they were doing. They've just built upon that for promoted teams.
Definitely, a great example. Positive in their approach, kept the side and added, which we all want to or try to do. You know, powerful football club, and deservedly took the place in the Premier League. An outstanding season in the Championship, and gone from strength to strength. And you know, a club that's quite a way ahead of us at the moment, but one that we can possibly look at and if things happen, investment into the team, that gives you an opportunity of competing with the likes of Wolverhampton Wanderers, because you've got a lot of good things happening at that football club, and obviously improving year on year.
They are doing exceptionally well, as has been mentioned. They draw a lot of games. What do you put that down to?
I just think they've got a positive approach. They've got players that excite you. They've got a front three that are very, very talented. Got a lot of pace in the team and a lot of technical ability. The midfield too. They play in a way that suited them. I think if you talked about draws, and of course, is fine margins. Fine margins in terms of those results. Of course, they'd love to turn them draws into wins, but they're a confident side, and they're a very, very positive side in their approach. And they're at home on Sunday, obviously, and they'll want to keep their good form going. And I think it's all set up to be a really good game, because their approach in the Premier League has been fantastic. I think their record against the top sides last year was first class. I don't see a different approach away from home to what there is at home, and what our approach is going to be. We want to go there on Sunday afternoon and win a game of football. So it has all the ingredients of being a really open game, and hopefully we can come on top. But yeah, again, we talked about going to have to play well.
Going to have to play well, and in absences last week, the players that came in, it was just seamless. That Jags played very well. Moore had a good game as well in the absence of Egan and Henderson. Yeah,
I mean, you look at that, and I suppose from afar you go, well, our defensive record, people talk about, and we can't score goals. We score 3 and we let 3 in, but I don't apportion any of that to Phil. I thought his performance was outstanding, and Simon as well. There wasn't many chances off the back of that. A couple of shots from distance, but I think we created the clearer chances, and unfortunately for Simon, we've conceded 3, but he really, when you look at it, you can't really blame Phil or Simon for any of them. It's just really good players opening Europe, and this is what happens sometimes. But their performances, as we talked about, as a group, the work that they do away from the lights is really key for them to step into those situations and produce really good performances. What Simon didn't have a lot to do, but certainly Phil, in terms of playing against Martial, Rashford and Dan James, the old man did quite well.
Hi Chris, just could you clarify, was Egan missing because of a calf injury or a head injury?
He had a bang to his head for the international game at Denmark on the Monday. Yeah.
Can I just ask you, Unai Emery's been sacked, and I suppose you played a part in beating them last month in this bad run that they've had. What's your reaction to the fact another manager's gone?
Just a cutthroat industry that we're in, and how important it is to win games of football, and I think everybody accepts if you don't win games of football, especially at the top sides, this change is going to be made. So I think we all understand that. Nobody likes to see anybody lose a job, of course, in any industry, but I think sometimes it just hits home to you that how focused you've got to be. I'm not saying that there was a lack of focus at any other club, but this is a really tough industry that we work in, and it can happen to the best. And obviously, Unai's record at Arsenal and before, his record before was an outstanding one for him to obviously get the job at Arsenal, and just shows you what the expectation levels are like for the top clubs and any club really in the Premier League.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go on, Jim.